Hello, Reviteers, and welcome to your long-anticipated lecture on how to import plans into your Revit file so that you can get started on our final project this semester. As I mentioned, this project is going to build off of the hand drafting final that you may have taken. And in addition to that, you may have already done an update to that plan in our CAD class. Regardless of where you are, I have these two base plans that we're going to use to give us an intro into how to import from CAD. And then once we've done that, you can go ahead and pull in your own CAD files and continue working that way. Or if you only have a paper copy of your drafting project or you haven't started it yet, you can go ahead and continue where we leave off at the end of the lecture today. So again, remember to have these two DWGs downloaded before we start our lecture, but you don't need to have AutoCAD installed on your computer. In fact, I don't on this machine. So I'm going to go ahead and get started in Revit, and we are actually going to do a new file for this project. And there's a couple things that I want to do as we get started. So first, we're going to click New. We want to do a residential template, and remember, it doesn't live here, but we're going to go to Browse and find our residential default, same as you did at the beginning of the semester, all those weeks ago. And then we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And one of the first things that I would like to do as we get started is change the file settings so that we don't get like 10 backup files again. So we're going to go to File, Options, and oh good, it kept this from my last edit. So there's only 3 journals or backup files, and it deletes them when they're older than 10 days. So that's where you want to be here. That way you won't have backup on top of backup on top of backup. They're big files, they take up a lot of space, and it just gets overwhelming trying to dig through all of them. That looks good to me. And what we want to do here, this part is going to be completely new. We haven't done this before, but it will help us in the second part of our project. So this will be really important. Revit automatically phases projects. That's not going to mean much now, but it will soon. What I want you to do is in your properties, scroll all the way down, just like I have. And the only thing I want you to do for now is notice where it says phasing, and then under phase, it automatically assumes that everything we're doing is new construction, but we're actually going to change it to be existing. What this means is that you and I are going to start this project with the assumption that your building is already built and it exists somewhere, so it's existing. We're going to do what's called the as-built drawings or the existing plans. So we're going to draw the entire building exactly as it is before we get into the remodel. I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And that's the only change that you need to make to start off for now. You'll notice that my exterior elevation markers disappeared, and that's okay for now. What we're going to do now is we are going to change this, the name of our first floor plan, to be first floor existing. That will help us know, this will help us keep track of the different floor plans that we have. So now we've got first floor existing and the phasing says existing. We want to make sure that those two things match. So now we're going to move on to how to actually import your CAD files. And this part is actually really straightforward. Now remember, if you only have a paper copy of your CAD file, or you haven't taken drafting yet, this is all you'll need to start your final project, and you can continue working after this. So what I'd like to do is I want to go into Insert, and you'll see that I have all of these options here, but we're looking for Link CAD, and then there is also Import CAD. Now, what are the differences between these two? Let me go over that with you because you might not need to know the difference now, but in the future, you'll absolutely need it. So importing CAD, this is what we're going to use. It's basically a one and done. We import the file, it stays in our Revit project, and we don't ever work on the CAD again. Now, if you want to link the project, what this entails is that you might be working in an office, or you might be working with an office who is using AutoCAD to do some of the designs at the same time that you're working on your Revit project. So this might be an example of, let's say I'm an architect and I hire you as an interior designer. Now, as the architect, I'm only using CAD to design this building. And if I make any changes, you need to make sure that the changes I make on my plans get reflected in your Revit model. So every once in a while, I will update the CAD file and send it to you. Now, what linking CAD does is it takes a look at that main file that you bring into Revit, and any changes or edits that you make, they are linked to this main file. So that original CAD plan can keep being changed or edited depending on the work that you're doing. Whereas the import CAD, again, it's a one and done. You're not working on that CAD plan anymore. Everything that you do from here on out will be in Revit. So that's the two differences between importing and linking CAD. So when we click on Import CAD, what we want to do is go find where that CAD file is. So make sure wherever you've saved it, it's easy for you to find. I keep mine in our class Revit folder, and I put it inside of a CAD folder. And I have two plans. I have the first floor and the second floor. Now mine are separate, but yours might be on the same plan, and that's okay. You'll just have to move your second floor when you pull it in the second time. So for now, I'm just going to pull in base plan 01, and let's take a look at all of these options here that we have. The first thing are the colors. It says preserve. I have this tiny little minute preview, but you can see that there are some colors in my plan. If you've worked with AutoCAD, you will also note that there are colors, but we actually never print in color. So I'm going to change this to be black and white. So when it pulls in, it's just a black and white plan. The other thing that you can do is you can select what layers are being pulled in. You can do all of the layers that you actually have visible, or you can go down to specify, and then when it pulls in, you can tell it what layers you want. For now, I'm going to leave it all because this is such a simple CAD file. There's really not much here. Import units, I leave on auto detect. I've never had trouble with it pulling it in with the wrong units. The other thing that I want to do is under positioning where it says auto origin to internal origin, I actually like it to be auto center to center. And now even with this selected, it might go somewhere crazy, but it helps me to at least try to have it somewhat centered on the screen. And then the last thing it's going to ask you is where to place it on the screen. Where to place it. And I want that to go in my first floor existing view. That's perfect. And now once you get all of this set up, go ahead and hit open. So this is a great time to pause if you want to relook at any of these things here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and come back. When you're back, we're going to hit open. And then right now it doesn't look like anything, so I'm going to double click on my mouse to do a zoom all, and there it is. Here is my CAD plan. When I click on it, it selects the whole thing because it just comes in as one whole drawing. And you can see that it imported it in as a black and white file. So all of the colors I had before, I had blue walls, I think I had green stairs, or maybe blue and green walls, a yellow door. All of that color is gone, and it just came in as black and white. And eventually we're going to use this to trace over. Now, sometimes for me and my old brain and my old eyes, it's kind of hard for me to see the difference between my CAD plan that's been imported and then the stuff that I'm actually working on in Revit. So for example, if I threw on some Revit walls here, at first glance, it might actually look like that door and these walls are here in Revit, and I might forget to put them in. So to help me out, I actually like to change the color of my CAD plan to something a little bit crazy. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my VV menu, and we're going to change the color of this floor plan to be, again, like red or pink, something that really stands out. So go ahead and click VV for me. And we're going to go into this menu right here called Imported Categories. And I don't know why my menus are so squished. Let me fix that. And under Imported Categories, you can see that I have got my AutoCAD base plan right here. And I've got lines and patterns right here. And what I want to do is override these so I can change the color. So in order to do this quickly, I'm going to grab layer 0, you click on it, hold your shift key, and then click on stairs. And what that does is it grabs everything in between so you don't have to do this one by one. After you have all of them selected, go ahead and click on Lines Override. We're not going to override the pattern, but on the color, grab anything that will stick out to you. I'm going to go to like this dark, like magenta burgundy color here. Click on OK. OK. Just to make sure it worked, I'm going to hit apply. You know what? It worked, but that is so close to black. That is not going to work for my eyes. Sorry. Let me do this again. So let me grab those layers. Lines, override. Let me go for something brighter. Let's actually go for this like really pinky purple. I should be able to see that. There we go. Much better. Now that I can see that that works, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And this is my AutoCAD base plan. But this is just the first floor. Remember that in this project, you also have a second floor. So before we start working, let's also set up our second floor CAD plan. So I'm going to double click on second floor. There's our first floor ghosted underneath. And what I'm going to do before I start working is also rename the second floor to be second floor existing. Okay. This whole existing stuff, again, it might not make a lot of sense right now, but it'll make a lot more sense once we go on to phase 2 of the project. Remember, we are drawing this as if it already exists somewhere. So this is a commercial space and a residential space that exists somewhere in our city. Now, this CAD plan isn't here. It's just ghosted in, similar to what you guys have seen in the past with anything like on our roof level when we were trying to draw it and we needed the floor below shown. What we want to do now is import the second floor, and we're going to do it the exact same way. We're going to go to Import CAD, Base Plan 2, and it kept all of my my settings from my last import. And the only exception is that it's placing it at second floor existing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Open. Did that work? Not quite. So my first floor is way up here and my second floor is way over there, which is just fine. I was hoping that they'd go right on top of each other, but you know, some days that's just what happens. So what I need to do, because in reality, our first floor and second floor would never be side by side. They're always on top of each other. So in order for me to know the difference between my first floor and second floor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to VV and I'm also going to change this to be purple. Now you might be thinking, Naima, why isn't this purple? VV is only for that particular view. So this being changed to purple is only for the first floor existing plan. It doesn't affect the second floor. I would have to do it again here. Now I don't need to do it again, but again, just for my sake, I'm going to make these two different colors by making this one unique so I know which one to move. So if one of them like accidentally scooches over, I can easily find it. So here, let me go ahead and make these larger again. Now this time I want to go to base plan 02. And I haven't seen this before. Remember how in the first instance was like collapse it and change all of them here? In the past, I'd actually have to select all of them individually. But now that it's giving me an overall override, let me give that a try. I'm going to click on override. And then this time, you know, I could make it magenta again, or I could go for like a bright green. Apply. Let me scooch this out of the way. Okay, that didn't work. Maybe that's why I always select them all. Wah, wah. Okay, so select the first one, hold shift, grab the others, override, green, okay, apply. Yay, there we go. Oh, I got so excited that it was going to be a little bit easier. It's still not too bad. It's just an extra click in the shift. No worries. Okay, so there's our second floor. What we need to do now is move these on top of one another so that they align. So I'm going to do M for move. No, I'm not. NYMA. It's MV. And what I need to do is click on my floor plan. This is so embarrassing. I can't remember the shortcut for move. Maybe it's MO. Nope, it is MV. Let me try it again. So MV. Okay, select it first. Click MV and select any one of these easy outside corners and place it on top. This is not being very exact. Let's just get it in as close as we can. I'm going to do it one more time. MV. Boop. Boop. Oh my gosh, so close. What the heck? Let's do it one more time. MV from here to here. Okay. Now, when you are working with your own CAD file, I have had some people pull in their work and they're like, oh my gosh, NYMA, my floors are like 6 inches off of each other, 2 feet off of one another. It's okay. It happens. Go ahead and use whatever dimension you think works best. And remember, we're using this to kind of improve our work. So as a designer, make the decision that is, you know, kind of the best way to fix whatever issue you find, and then do the rest of the layout as is, even if it means like extending some of your rooms, pushing some of the walls. That's totally fine. It doesn't have to be exact. Like I'm not going to change your measurement. I'm not going to check your measurements to see if it's exactly how it was supposed to be when you originally took the class. That's not really what I'm worried about. So once you get all of this set up and decided, we can hop into the Revit stuff, or the Revit portion. So again, for you that are haven't taken hand drafting yet or only have the hand drafting, you can start working in Revit right away. For those of you who have a CAD file, what you're going to do is I would suggest just pulling in your CAD base plans. And again, as I mentioned, I think that most of you guys, when you did your final project, you didn't do like a first floor and a second floor, but you may have done them side by side. So you might just have to bring in the same drawing into the first floor and the second floor and just kind of scooch them over so that they're on top of one another. And if you don't like seeing them side by side, you know, so for example, if I brought in my second floor and my first floor is still hanging out over here where I had originally drawn it, if that drives you crazy, go ahead and go into your extents and crop it so that you can't see that part of the CAD file. That should hopefully take care of it. And if you have any questions, just shoot me a message on Canvas or in the general discussion, and I can help you guys with that portion of it. So now that we have gotten here, this is what we need to think about, and this is taking us back to, like our very first class. So I'm going to keep the second level open, I'm going to open up a 3D file, and I might even open up an elevation. So this should hopefully seem really familiar to you. Okay. So right now, when we are working on this project as is, the second floor is at 9 feet and the roof is at 18 feet. Now, I would suggest all of you guys doing a little sketch on where you want your floors to go. Again, as the designer, you have control over all of these things. I don't expect all of you to be the same, but I would suggest maybe do some higher ceilings in here, because if our second floor is at 9 feet, remember, we need some space in the ceiling plenum for our lights and HVAC on the first floor. So in your hand drafting class, Jerry may have already specified what the floor heights are at. And I'm sorry, I actually don't know what those are. But before you continue drawing your walls, please make sure that you have these set where you want them to be. And I said a good rule of thumb is anywhere from 1 foot to 2 feet between floors. Okay. And then your roof, again, make sure that you're leaving another. Once you know how high you want your second floor to be, go ahead and give it whatever space you gave here on top of that as well, so that you could have the same, roof structure as well as space in the plenum as well here. So that's kind of up to you. And then from here, the thing that's great is you can actually just trace your walls. So now I'm actually going to hop back to the first floor. And you might know exactly your wall type, so you can change that, depending on what type of walls you had. I know a lot of people do like a brick structure, but I just typed in WA. So if I wanted to do exterior brick on wood stud, I can grab that. I know that I want it to go up to the roof. And I'm going to go finish face interior again, because I have no idea how accurately these exterior walls have been drawn. I want to make sure that my interiors are accurate. And I love this because I can just click and drag and click, and I'm essentially just tracing along the whole thing. It's pretty awesome. And then there's my building, right? We're already seeing it being built. I've got the second floor base plan here, and that's perfect because remember, exterior walls, it's not like they stop at the first floor and then you start building that second floor wall. These floors should go all the way up from, even the basement level if you have one, all the way up. And there's some design decisions. Do you have a rooftop balcony? Do you want to go even higher? Those are things that you can start thinking about. But here is what that looks like. My east elevation is insane, and that's because this is where my building is and these are where my cameras are. So I'm just going to grab this camera and move it. It still is crazy. This is east. It's north. There we go. There we go. So I just moved the camera and now I can see that east elevation. Very fancy, right? But this is where I would love for you guys to start. And again, for now, just go ahead and design it as is, how you have it in CAD or hand drafting. And then for part 2, again, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of a remodel. All right, good luck, have fun with it, and I can't wait to see the designs that you came up with in your classes. Thanks, everyone.